Hi, Larry Babbitt here, Handyman Larry. Today we're going to change out a screen. You can see here, this was the brown 80% screen. So it blocks out supposedly 80% of the UV of the sun. So we're going to upgrade it to the 90%, which is the black stuff, and we're going to use this. We got this from Home Depot. So that'll work. You can buy these little kits, tools. They're at Home Depot, fairly inexpensive. They make different, these that are of different quality too. I've actually don't have an opinion for one being any better than the other. So these just happen to work out fine for, I've used this one quite a few years. So anyway, we're gonna set this aside, we're gonna turn this over. There's this rubber rubber stuff that goes in here that's pressed in here with the screen in the slot. And these come in different millimeters or different sizes, so I'm just going to reuse this stuff. And this would be different, probably a little thicker if it was just a regular bug screen, because this stuff is the sunscreen is actually a thicker material. So we're just going to reuse this stuff. You can always reuse it. We'll just pop it through, man. And just get seated and fused in there. These screens are somewhat delicate, so you do want to treat them with a little bit of care. This is really quite weathered, and so it's probably not even serving maybe even 50% of its purpose, but aside from that, it's just ugly. You don't have a nice uniform look anymore. This, this will work here. I just bought kind of an oversized we got a bunch of different sizes of screens, so I bought this, pretty much the biggest stuff that they had available. Okay, so we'll have to make sure that this stuff is squared. See if I can find a position here, who it was. Set this back in, it got a little too rough to fit here. There's a little dirty spot, so. So I'm going to go at least a few inches past, over, so I don't like undercutting this stuff. It's a waste. That's a little pricey. I learned early on, if I try to cut this too close, to try to be real conservative with this stuff, it only becomes a real headache, and it just kind of goes in naturally by itself when you get started. I just try to square it up as much as I can, evenly all the way around, and then just get started. You don't pull this stuff and keep it tight or anything while you're working. You just kind of, once you set it down like this, and then get started, you let it naturally tighten itself up. So you don't really want to use sharp objects here, and because it's easy to rip this stuff. And what I do is I try to stay away from this edge because it'll fall off, or it'll go up on against the sharp edge of the frame and then rip it too. So just kind of let it go naturally as that's where the grid is right there. It's gonna fight it. It's gonna fight that grid a little bit. Yeah, it has a tendency to want to try to go up on you, so you just gotta be a little bit careful and take a little time. Now that I got it a good start, I can press it in there a little tighter. Yeah, where that frame is, you can tell that grid tightens it up a bit. Well, you kind of have to use a screwdriver. Be real careful. You get over here and punch a hole in it, you've lost your whole thing. Start all over again. It can be real tempting to want to try to fix this, and it's just, you can spend a lot of time on it and it never really, it just kind of naturally does better by itself. See that? You spend a lot of time fighting this, thinking you're going to get it perfect when it just naturally goes together. I'm using my thumb here to help kind of keep it from sliding off. It just helps. It's certainly not a perfect thing. And this sunscreen is a little different and tougher than the bug screen because the bug screen is so much thinner and the material is just kind of goes together a little easier because it's so much thinner. Usually when I reuse this rubbery stuff, I usually end up trimming some of it off, at least a few inches or so at the end, because it kind of stretches differently each time you use it. See, there was some creases over here. There was some creases over here earlier, but as I this naturally pulls itself, tighter. You just want to make sure you don't try to think you're going to cut it the exact size. You gotta cut yourself, a few inches, overlay or overlap when you measure it out at first. You can see here I almost damaged this just because it went off to the side, and you got these little sharp edges here. So you just got to be a little careful with that. This stuff's a little more durable than the regular thinner bug screen, but it's still, you want to be careful with this stuff because, like I said, this sunscreen's a little pricey. You don't want to waste it. Also tightens it up a little bit too. See, I can tell already I'm going to have about 3 inches left of this stuff. Even still, I've been doing these things for at least 15 years, maybe 18, and I don't do these every single day, but I've done them quite often. And even still, I always wonder that there's going to be some big old crease or ripple left around, but as long as I don't fight it and I just let it naturally work itself out, it always works out pretty good. not perfect, but it's always very acceptable. So you can see there's no ripples, and it's a nice, pretty nice tight looking fit. So now I'll go and push the rest of this in because I can't get too aggressive with it. I'm using this side because it's nice and rounded. It's not so sharp at the edge. If I use it, travels off the crack a little bit. Just shear it. Now these tools, you can get a kit with some of this stuff in a bag for like $7 or something. It's really inexpensive. Here, just use a sharp little blade here. And I try to stay away from this here. In fact, I should lift it a little bit, cut it down. Again, stay away from the screen. Wouldn't hurt to have a pair of scissors too. Yeah, I can push the stuff down there. Okay, so here's a fairly easy part too. Once you get started, you cut into the outside here, not in here, because then you'll waste your whole thing. And I just get in there, just barely above the, there's a name for this stuff, I forget, the rubber threaded piece that holds it, but you can see this just comes right apart. The corners you spend just a little bit more time on. The sharper this utility knife is that you have, the better. It's probably time for me to get a new one, but this part even goes pretty quick too. So, there we go. Probably the fastest part of the whole job. Even with this amount of overlap, I felt like I was risking, it not working. So this is more like the kind of overlap you want. If you try too hard to save more product, you probably end up costing yourself more in the end. So as simple as this seemed in the look, you saved yourself quite a few bucks with this by doing this, because they are pricey. You can tell that some of the back of the frame, I should have took a little more time to clean it, but I wanted to be efficient in this video. This can just clean off with a rag. I don't know if you can see it with the video, but the back of this grid is a little dusty still, so got this stuff here. And of course, when you, I don't know if most people know, this stuff can be cleaned with just a hose.